Hey, everybody, this is Doug O'Brien. I'm live. This is the first time I've ever done a live podcast. I wanted to talk to you about the summit that's tomorrow. At least when I'm live, it's tomorrow. Might be yesterday, depending on when you watch this. But the summit is tomorrow, September 28th, and I want to tell you all about it. So we're going to do a live podcast here, and we're going to see how it goes. I've never done this before, but let's give this a go. This is the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast, and this is what the intro looks like. You are listening to the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast, a show devoted to uncovering the systems and the secrets that set the best apart, where you learn how to take your coaching clients to the next level, while you grow the coaching practice of your dreams. So sit back and relax, or sit up and get excited. Either way, you might want to pay attention. This could be important. And we're back. So yeah, this is my my Impactful Summit launch podcast or something like that. So tomorrow, I'm really excited to be doing this Impactful Summit. I don't know if you're on my mailing list. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But a while back, a few months ago, I sent a mailing list to email to the people on my mailing list saying, what would you like to do a summit about if you could choose? And I gave several options of things that they could choose from. And they overwhelmingly responded that they wanted to do how to make a lasting impact with your clients. So that's what I've organized, a Making a Lasting Impact with Your Clients Summit. And we've got some extraordinary people on this. I am just so excited. I've got Deborah Heslin coming in tomorrow, and Mark Andreas, son of Connie Ray Andreas and Steve Andreas, who is great at whatever he does, but he's going to be talking about metaphors of movement. Andrew Austin's work, brilliant stuff. Deborah is a great NLP trainer, but she's going to be talking about heart math. I think that's primary focus for tomorrow. She could talk about anything for quite some time. I've got my good friend Nick Kemp on, talking about his provocative change works, and he'll be doing a demo, I guess. You got to see that to join the next level up, whatever that's called again. It'll come to me in a minute, but he's going to be here. So much fun to listen to Nick whenever he talks. Is just a riot. Michael Johnson, good friend of mine, had taught me how to use this platform of StreamYard. He's been really influential with me. He's a student of mine from years ago in the NLP class, but boy, if all my students were like him, I would have quite a reputation as a trainer, because he's just taking the ball and run with it big time. Just as amazing things. It's really cool how he's taken what he does or did with ballroom dancing. He's a ballroom dancer, competitor, and also instructor for many years. He's taken that sort of like how to choreograph your life and how to choreograph your business. It's really quite exceptional stuff. Shelley Rose Charvet is part of our podcast. Shelley, who's if you don't know Shelley, then show up for the podcast tomorrow. Not the podcast tomorrow, but for the summit. She actually has been on the podcast. If you're unfamiliar with this Essential Coaching Skills Podcast, then check that out as well. Lots of great speakers. Many of the people on this summit for tomorrow have been on the podcast in the past. In fact, one of the summit participants is Dave Buck. Again, if any of these names are not familiar to you, show up for the summit. Find out who they are, what they have to say. It's really, these people are, all of them, fantastic. Dave Buck, I first met at Thomas Leonard's funeral. Thomas Leonard was, as far as I'm concerned, the originator of coaching. He was my teacher of coaching. I met him at a conference very briefly. I met him I sat through his talk, but I met him backstage in the green room. I was also a presenter at this conference we were at. I had never heard of coaching. I don't think anybody had ever heard of coaching. And I thought, well, it's weird, but it sounds great. And the way he talks about it was amazing. So I signed up for his online training. Actually, it wasn't online. There was no such thing as online. It was like the early 90s. So it was all done on telephone. So we'd spend hours on the telephone. I have these still some little cassette recordings, little tiny micro cassettes from the answering machine where I did my best to, record some of this stuff. I don't know where those are, but I did have them for a long time. Probably still do somewhere. Anyway, Thomas died way too young, 50 in 1999 or 2000. And I went to his funeral. It was in New York City, and I went to it. And Dave Buck was one of Thomas's close confidants, mentees, protege, you might say. And Thomas basically left his Coachville to Dave Buck. And Dave did the eulogy at Thomas's funerals. This guy's amazing. I need to meet this guy. So that's how I met him. And he was my very first guest on this Essential Coaching Skills podcast 2 years ago. I wanted him to be the first guy. He's my first guest. So if you go to episode number 2, he's the first person besides myself on this Essential Coaching Skills podcast. He's going to talk some stuff about coaching that if you don't know his name, show up to this thing. He also does a demo in the added bonus section, which I should know the name of, but no pressure, live podcasting here. All Access Pass. Thank you, Conscious Mind, Unconscious Mind. The All Access Pass. If you do the free summit, that's great. You can see a lot of good stuff. If you do an extra $47, I think it is, go to the All Access Pass. You get all the videos all the time and some bonus materials as well, which is one of them is Dave Buck doing a demo of his coaching with a very wonderful person who volunteered for that. And Nick Kemp also does the same thing. He does a demo of how he does what he calls the voice tempo exercise. Remarkable thing that he does with people to take away their anxieties. It's just amazing. You got to see it. Anyway, so cool to have these people here. Also on the summit lineup is Robert Dilts, who, again, you probably know his name. If you're on my mailing list, if you're on anything to do with me at all, he invented sleight of mouth. He is one of the early co-developers of NLP. He didn't invent NLP. Richard Bandler, John Grinder did that. Frank Pusalik, I think, gets some credit there as well. But Robert was around. He was around and was certainly one of the early developers, one of the co-authors of NLP Volume 1. Right? He's been around since the beginning and invented, like I said, sleight of mouth and lots of other wonderful things as well. So having him on the summit, he was my teacher. I learned sleight of mouth from him 1987, I believe it was. Deborah Battersby is on the summit. Deborah Battersby, who I know from the Tony Robbins world. She was a trainer, I think, at the time I was a master trainer. She went on to become a master trainer, stuck around a lot longer than I did, and has developed many things on her own that are quite remarkable. The book, I believe, pretty sure the book is called Freedom Point by Deborah Battersby. You can look that up. All this information, of course, will be available, of course, at the summit tomorrow. But really, really interesting stuff. Freedom Point is this whole process of how to work with the genius of your subconscious mind, access ancient wisdom. It's very cool, the innate intelligence that's present within the body. So it's so really amazing to see somebody like Deborah come along, who I've known for years, who has synthesized and brought to the surface this work that she found, by doing work with people. How do you create this change with somebody that you want to make and have it be lasting change? Again, the point to this whole summit is that it's a lasting change summit. So how do we make this lasting change? And all these people are focused on that and helping you to do that. With today's StreamYard live podcast, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about just stuff like that. But I do want to just, use this opportunity to really invite you to this thing. It is going to be great. And with the All Access Pass, you have access to all the videos forever. I mean, you can download them, you can keep them. I'm not sure how long they'll be streaming, but you can download them and keep them forever. And all the extras, bonuses as well. as an example, one of the bonuses that you get for that is Nick Kemp's, I think it's a 9 CD set that he had, digitized. So it's now his MP3s, but his original How to Do Provocative Change Works on CD is yours. It's like how to do what he does is on CD. And that's part of what you get for being there tomorrow. It's going to be fabulous. It's all going to be on Facebook, by the way. So you have to, sign up for it. You've got to go over to Facebook like you are here now. I think if you're watching this live, certainly you're on Facebook. And you had to join the Lasting Impact Summit Facebook group, and we broadcast it, if you will, through there. So that's the deal. So we'll see you there tomorrow. And hopefully you'll see us many other times as well. I just also do want to say we're doing this partially because I'm going to be offering more trainings online. As you can tell, I'm online right now. I don't know if you can also tell that I have this stand-up desk I'm standing in front of. Interesting story, very brief. I won't take your time, but I bought this stand-up desk, this circle light, this microphone that's just out of earshot, the site. You can't quite see it. Bought all this stuff to do what we're doing here before COVID happened. I had an office at Melissa Tears's place, the Integral Center. I've forgotten exactly what it's called. Center for Integrative Hypnosis, Melissa Tears's place in Manhattan. I had an office in that space. I had soundproofed it. I literally soundproofed the place. It was a lot of work but I was going to do it there in this space. And then suddenly COVID happened. And the office was abandoned and all this stuff in it. 6 months later, I went down and, grabbed it, put it in a van and drove it up here to this little country house we've escaped to, my wife and I. And now it's here. But we started doing this online stuff before I had the stand-up desk and the circle light and the microphone. Just did it on the laptop. It was kind of like COVID said, you want to do that here? Put his foot on the gas and pressed it down. It's like, woo! Suddenly we're doing it. It's when I started the podcast. So it's kind of exciting to me to finally be, doing real stuff, if you will. This summit is real. It's going to be cool. It's going to be hopefully the first of many summits. And if you have any ideas of who else you'd like to see on the summit like this, maybe you, I don't know, let me know. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. And here's with the outro for the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. Looks like this. This has been the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure seeing you again. Hope to see you again real soon. Come back next week when we have another gripping and exciting episode of the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. And if you want to, you can find out more about us, each and every one of us, at essentialcoachingskills.com. Thanks.